Okay, this is 7-1. Right, 7-1. Ratios, proportions. I told you this unit was very, very large and that it's kind of broken down into 3 parts. We had our special segments part. You might want to go review some of that sometime soon. You've got your medians, your altitudes, your angle bisectors, your perpendicular bisectors, and your mid-segments. Okay, we took a quiz over it. Most of y'all did really well. Then we just finished our triangle congruence proofs. Okay, just took a quick quiz on that. Not as many people did well on this one, but the averages were still pretty decent in most cases. Okay, this is the 3rd section of the unit. It's a little bit of ratios and proportions, similarity in triangles, and then we're going to do a little bit of relationships in triangles as far as the sides and the angles. It's just 3 sections this unit, and we are done, or 3 sections this week, and then we're done with the unit. So if you did not perform well on one of the other 2 quizzes, it's really time to start coming to see me during tutoring so we can go over those with you and make sure you're prepared for the unit test. Okay. Before we can do similarities in triangles, we need a little bit of algebra practice. So this is really an algebra section. It's just reviewing you on ratios and cross multiplying. So, okay. What is a proportion? Well, what is the difference between a proportion and a ratio? I have a lot of kids that use those words interchangeably, and they're not. Okay? A proportion is 2 ratios set equal.
April Murphy, please report to the front office. April Murphy.
This would be considered a proportion because it has a ratio. A ratio is just a fraction. It's just a number divided by a number. And another ratio, 3/7, set equal to each other. To solve, you cross multiply. Okay. If you've forgotten how to cross multiply, you take this number and multiply it by whatever's up there. And you take that number and multiply it by whatever's up there. So 7 times x is 7x. 4 times 3 is 12. This is multiplication, so to get rid of the 7 you divide, and x equals 12/7. You can leave this as a fraction because it doesn't reduce. Okay? Alright, we're going to get progressively harder with our proportions. Okay? This is what you were used to in junior high. You probably did a ton of questions like this in the 7th or 8th grade. So you're going to feel really confident in this section, but be aware, this is high school. And most of you are in pre-AP. So I'm going to be challenging you a little bit. Okay. Is this still a proportion? Does it matter that there's a plus sign? The answer to that question is no. This is still a ratio, this is still a ratio, and they're still set equal. So we still solve it by cross multiplying. This gets multiplied by that. How do we multiply a binomial by a number? Okay, this whole thing has to get multiplied by 6. So to indicate that, we put it in parentheses. And then this gets multiplied by 18. And to solve this, you distribute. I'm going to be showing you how to solve these by hand today, but remember, if you get in a bind on a test, you do have those calculators that will solve it for you. Okay, if you've forgotten, you can ask me in class. We have 2 ends on opposite sides of the equal sign, so we need to subtract. This is 12 times n, so we need to divide. So n equals 3. Okay, like I said, we're going to get progressively harder. This example is mainly for my pre-AP kids. However, you regular kids, I might give this to you as a bonus or something. Okay, I just want to see who can do it. Okay, especially since y'all can solve it on the calculator. I might make my pre-AP kids solve it by hand. All right, this is still a proportion. Ratio, ratio. So, we have 3 times 2. Just 6. But uh-oh, what do we do with this mess? We have this whole thing times this whole thing. Those are called binomials because there's 2 terms. So we have x minus 3, and we have to multiply that entire thing by x plus 2. And remember, that whole thing has to get multiplied. So both of those, anytime you have a binomial, you need to put it in parentheses when you're multiplying because the whole thing has to get multiplied. Okay? If you want to, okay, for my regular kids, at this point you could obviously just put it in the calculator. Okay, don't forget I think it's menu 3-1 or menu 1-3, one of those two, I don't remember. Okay, my pre-AP guys, you need to know how to solve this. And we'll go over this more towards the end of the year. I usually do a factoring review at the end of the year, but I just want to go ahead and show it to you today. Okay, first you have to FOIL. I don't know if they still call it foiling in the algebra department or not. Okay. Then you combine the middle terms. Okay. Then you have to get rid of the 6. Your trinomial needs to be equal to 0 before you factor it. Okay, to solve a trinomial, you have to factor it once it's set equal to 0. First you have to get it set equal to 0, then you have to factor it back out. Remember, when you're factoring, you're looking for numbers that multiply to give you negative 12, but add to give you negative 1. Is that negative 1 or positive 1? Negative 1. Okay, so multiply to give you negative 12, but add to give you negative 1. The only combination of that I can think of would be negative 4 and positive 3. Those would multiply to give you negative 12 and add to give you negative 1. Since this is x squared, then I just put an x and an x. And this is minus 4. And this is plus 3. Okay. Those are my factors. So I set each factor to 0. So x minus 4 equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. So x equals 4, and x equals minus 3. Those are your 2 answers. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to introduce this just so you could see it, but you really could just do this on the calculator for now. But at the end of the year, we will be doing this, just to get you ready for Algebra 2, if we have time. All right. One more thing. Okay, apparently we're getting a musical serenade. I don't know if y'all can hear that through the video, but the room next door is playing loud music. Okay. Oh, my pen just died. There it goes. Okay. This question, for some reason, gives a lot of kids some trouble. Okay? I'm going to tell you 3 things that if you will check these off your list, you will never miss this problem again. Okay? Number 1. Anytime you are asked to set up a similarity ratio, you need to make sure that your units match. In this example, they do. I'm going to give you inches and inches. But a lot of times you'll have a problem where it's a scale model, and the scale model is in inches, but the actual building is in feet or yards or whatever. Okay? You absolutely have to make sure that your units match when you're setting up a similarity ratio. If they don't, then you need to convert. If you don't remember how to convert, come see me and I'll either show you, or most phones these days have a conversion tool, so I don't mind if you use that for now. But you need to absolutely make sure that your units match. Step number 2. Set up the ratio correctly. Which number is going to go on top of the fraction? This one's the longer side to the shorter side. Think of the word 2 as your division sign. So it's going to be longer divided by shorter. So this one goes on top and that one goes on bottom. Which one is the longer side? In this case it's 50 and the shorter side is 40. Now I'm still not done. This would not technically be a correct answer because all ratios are expected to be reduced. Okay? So this reduces down to 5/4. Okay? So please, when you get to the homework problems or the in-class assignments and you're asked to write a similarity ratio, get out your notes. Your notes should already be out, by the way. And make sure you check off these 3 things before you give me your answer. Okay? Don't forget to think about what your learning goal is before you come to class so that we can get to class ready to go and prepared. And I will see you tomorrow.